Hi there. My name is Brittany Lord, and I'm the facilitator for the Remembering Our Babies group. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. I'm coming to you this month with another video around the ways that we can process the effects of grief. If you're watching this video, you're tuning into this YouTube channel, you may have gotten this information from a friend, you may have gotten it from our walk that we do every year. Maybe you got on the email list from the walk. And you're finding out, or maybe you just happened upon our page. Please drop us a comment. Check us out on Facebook, Remembering Our Babies Therapy Group, and we would love to hear from you. If you'd like more information about this or any other of our videos, or more about what our group does, please let us know. Please note that this video is not meant to diagnose or treat mental health issues. If you do happen to have a mental health issue and you're watching this video, please stop the video and go to your nearest emergency medical facility. These videos are meant to be a psychoeducational and informational time to help process the effects of grief. So this is the second year that this group has decided to come alongside people in our community and beyond to help, again, as I said before, process all the effects of grief. This, unfortunately, is a club that no one wants to be a part of. If you have lost a child due to infant death, miscarriage, or struggle with the pain of infertility, if you or someone you love has struggled with this, then this group is for you. And we're so excited to partner together with all these different ways that we can serve this community and come alongside you and join you on your grief journey. So the three ways that we're doing that last year and this year are: one, usually at the beginning of November, sometimes the end of October, we have a walk. And when I say walk, I don't mean just something really simple. It's huge and it's amazing. More details will be to come as the fall rolls out, but there are food trucks, there's tons of things for kids, games, prizes, raffles, things that you can bid on, live music. And at the end of the evening, there's a walk to remember. There's spaces to be able to honor your baby, and then there's a candlelight vigil at the end. It's an amazing time. It's super emotional, but don't let that scare you. It's a way to really honor the ways that we grieve the loss of our children or the hope of having our children, and take those steps that they never got to take, and to be able to come alongside one another and share in each other's burdens. So we're excited about being able to do that this year. And again, another way that we come alongside people in our community and beyond is to offer some free, the first initial counseling sessions, individual counseling sessions, provided with funds that are raised by this group. So I'm an LPC MHSP here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I would I facilitate this group and some of the things that we do, but I also am here to provide that individual counseling and to be able to come alongside and start some of that grieving process and really work one-on-one with you all to provide that. So I'm excited about that. We've already had tons of people that have accessed these services. If you need more information or want to make an appointment, please feel free to check us out on our Facebook group. I also have my own website, and you can check me out as well. If you just Google Brittany Lord, BrittanyLord, you'll find that. The third way that we're coming alongside people in our community is with these videos. Again, they're just some simple ways, some experiential ways to be able to process all the effects of the grieving experience. So what we thought we would do today, we've talked a lot about different ways to process grief, what the 5 stages of grief looks like, the differences in the way men and women grieve. Mother's Day and Father's Day came in May and June, and we've talked for the past little while about how difficult that those months are for people. Maybe there's a variety of reasons you struggle during those times. Maybe you have a strained relationship with a parent, or maybe you've lost mom or dad. Maybe you, again, with this group, struggle with the pain of infertility, lost a child. Maybe your children are really struggling. So whatever the reason, Mother's Day and Father's Day are really, really hard holidays. And we understand that and we see you. So one of the things I thought for this month that we would talk about is ways to cope with all these different effects of grief. So we talked about different ways to do, to process. So, okay, we process our grief, and then we need to get on with our day, right? We've got carpool, we've got dinner to fix, we've got a job, the pet needs to be taken to the vet. I mean, all of these things are what we do on a daily, weekly, monthly, and every year basis, and we don't get to take much, if any, of a vacation from any of that. But what we can do is to find some healthy coping mechanisms to be able to get through our day. So if we're working through the grieving process and really processing what's happening, whatever that is, through these videos or through your own therapist or seeking therapy with us, healthy coping mechanisms are essential to be able to really get through your day. You can't always stop and make an appointment with your therapist, but you can read a book, or you can say a prayer, do some meditation. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. So when I say coping mechanisms, there's two really main types. What I'm referring to would be healthy versus unhealthy coping mechanisms. So I think it's probably not too much of a shock at what some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms may be. Using substances to numb or dull the pain, using any types of addiction. Now, I know positive things can be an addiction. I've probably been addicted to running at some points in my life, but those are usually more positive coping mechanisms. But addiction can include gambling, sexual acts, substances, anything that helps to numb or to dull the pain. We talked a little while ago, last month, about the differences in the way men and women grieve. And many times, if the person is not really talking about, maybe if they're an instrumental griever, they might have more of a tendency to use substances in order to dull that pain. Now, that can be for intuitive, more of the crier, the person that uses their support system to grieve, but that can also apply to instrumental grievers who really grieve by doing. Starting a GoFundMe page, building a chicken coop, building a home. These are things that I've heard from other clients before, so that's what I'm using as examples. But unhealthy coping mechanisms, they get a bad rap, and they are unhealthy, but the reason people use them is because they work, to be quite honest. If we are drunk, we don't feel the pain that we're experiencing. And let's just be honest, for those who are in this club, it's a pain like no other. And it can be really easy for a lot of people, and I know a lot of clients that use substances and to be able to numb that pain and to be able to escape it for a little while. And it works for a bit, right? It does work. But then maybe it doesn't work as easily 2 weeks later or a month later, and it takes more and more of that substance to be able to get the same effect. And then maybe those substances and our addiction to them or overuse of them start to lead to other things. Maybe we're not as participatory at home, or we're not helping out, or maybe we're late to work quite a bit. Well, over time, those things can lead to some effects or some consequences, right? And so that substance that was kind of taking the edge off or numbing the pain a little becomes a bigger problem. So for unhealthy coping mechanisms, when someone comes in and they're using those, we talk about ways, okay, how do we know that this is on board, how can we find some other more healthy coping mechanisms? So whatever someone's opinions are about marijuana, alcohol, the challenge is that those can't be sustained. I have conversations with people, now that marijuana is legal in many states, right? And we want to use that as a coping mechanism. But the challenge is, well, what if you get a job that doesn't allow you to have that and you get drug tested? So there's a lot of different issues, that can be around that. I don't want to hear judgment coming through with that, and nothing like a margarita night to maybe take the edge off, or a fun girls' night. But sometimes those unhealthy, that coping mechanism can be taken too far. So no judgment here, just maybe think about how we can expand those coping mechanisms. So let's think about healthy coping mechanisms. Now those can range from east is to west, right? Whether a person is painting, listens to music, runs exercises, reads, has a spiritual practice of maybe prayer or meditation, spends time in nature, spends time with their kids. Coping mechanisms are, and what's, it can be a coping mechanism for one person can be another person's idea of a terrible time, right? I love to run. Somebody else hates to run, right? I have no artistic ability, but another person really enjoys painting. And of course, you can you can paint or do art, and you really don't have to have much artistic ability, right? You can just do it to hang on your own wall or on your own refrigerator. So thinking about those coping mechanisms, think about the times in your life where you've experienced joy and you've been able to smile. If you've lost a child, you haven't really smiled probably a lot. I know in the days and weeks after I lost our third child, I struggled to have any type of joy. While he was here for the 23 days he was here, he died, he was born and died in 2013. There were spots of joy that were sprinkled in, but there was also a lot of sadness, and especially when he left this earth, there was a lot of sadness, and I struggled to be able to smile and to be able to laugh. But there were times when I could watch my other two sons being silly or having a great time that I was able to do that. Humor is a great coping mechanism. Now, sometimes, and unfortunately, we all know those the comedians who use laughter through tears. They usually have kind of a difficult origin story, if you will. You can tell I have boys that talk about an origin story like with superheroes. But with laughter, it is helpful for us to be able to, maybe make light of a situation. We can't do it all the time. We have to find some moderation. And that brings up another point with coping mechanisms, whether it's running or reading. We find some moderation. If I push my body every day and run and push it past its limits or what I'm used to, well, a little pushing can be helpful, but sometimes I could even hurt myself. So even with coping mechanisms, we can find some moderation. Someone chooses to go out and have dinner and have a margarita. Okay, they're finding that moderation, right? They're enjoying themselves, just maybe having a fun evening with girlfriends. But when that becomes too much, then maybe we have a problem. We haven't found that sense of moderation. So coping mechanisms, and I make it sound so easy, but sometimes we have to think about too, what do I enjoy? Maybe you've forgotten the things that you really enjoyed. One of the 5 stages of grief is depression, and that's not diagnosed depression, but it's sadness as associated with the grieving process. There's a fancy word called anhedonia, and it's part of depression, and it's really not finding joy in things that you used to find joy in. After you've lost a child or really struggling with infertility, maybe nothing really feels joyful. Maybe you're not finding joy in anything, but you used to find joy in this. So maybe that's where we start, right? If I make a decision if I'm hungry and then I make a decision to cook dinner, that feeling led to my action. Well, sometimes if I know my body needs to eat, maybe I go ahead and cook dinner in the hopes that maybe I'll be hungry later because I know that my body needs fuel to go. Well, if we know that, it'd be helpful for me to get out in nature, maybe go for a walk, but I'm not really feeling motivated to do it, well, maybe if I start doing it, it'll help me get that motivation back. You probably don't feel like doing some of these things, but they can be helpful. And putting one foot in front of the other is a real struggle when you're dealing with child loss, infertility, or miscarriage. But I want to encourage you. Many people have gone before you and many people have gone after. This group we're here for you. Please let us know how we can help. Please let us know how we can serve you. Think about those things that you've taken joy in. Think about coping mechanisms. Maybe it's something that a friend does. Maybe they really love paddleboarding or horseback riding and you thought, that sounds good. Maybe I'll try that. No time like the present. Instead of another tie for Dad for Father's Day or for a birthday, maybe let's invest in some paddleboarding or some horseback riding lessons, right? And let's find some new ways to be able to cope, to be able to have fun, maybe even spend time with the ones we love and who are maybe also grieving after a really difficult season. I hope these things help. Please let us know how else we can help. Have a good day, and good luck finding that healthy, fun coping mechanism.